Redemption has always been a major theme in Dragon Ball, and while it was handled amazingly with Vegeta, Piccolo's redemption story has always fascinated me more. The main reason being, it wasn't really about redemption in the first place. While he had evil intent from the start, he never really did anything wrong. What about his time as the Demon King, you ask? Well, can we really consider that Piccolo the same as the former? He is a reincarnation, sure, but the way the story frames it, he's basically the Demon King's son. A son burdened by the legacy and wishes of his dead father and carries with him the expectations of those who knew him. He's filling a role he had no choice but to play. Granted, he seems totally content with this role at first, but after being spared by Goku in the 23rd Budokai, it's clear that things have changed. He hasn't really bothered Goku at all during the time after the tournament, and hasn't stirred up any trouble either. When he finally accomplishes his mission to kill Goku, he doesn't relish in it, and if that weren't enough, the fact that his dead enemies don't go to Limbo effectively shows he's not a demon anymore. He hasn't completely forgoed his father's wishes, but it's clear that he's developing into his own person now. This is ultimately the core of Piccolo's journey, to discover himself, and Gohan helps further this development. Piccolo training with Gohan stems from two things, the Saiyan's arrival and the desire to pass on his legacy before he dies. Like his father before him, Piccolo has placed high expectations on Gohan and forces him in a role he doesn't really want to be in. As the two spend more time with each other though, this desire to make Gohan a fellow demon diminishes and a friendship is formed, which makes total sense. Nobody really got to know Piccolo for who he was, partly because he was seen as a demon, but also because he would seclude himself from others. He's the monster of the story, so who can he really have by his side? Now that isn't the case. He isn't alone anymore and finally has someone who can see him for who he really is. Not a monster, but a strict, kind of mean, but deep down good-hearted person. This is why their friendship meant so much to him, and why his dying wish to Gohan was that he lived. Not to avenge him, but to merely stay alive. While the Saiyan arc had Piccolo move away from his destined path to find his own identity, the Frieza and Cell arc have the character rediscover and regain his lost past to truly become complete. Through the assimilation of Nail and Kami, Piccolo is able to gain an understanding of the Namekian people, as well as the former life his father and Kami once shared. What I love about this particular development is how the story frames it. While he made it far on his own, there was only so much he could do, so while he may not have wanted Kami or Nail, he needs them if he plans on moving forward. Similar to Goku's journey in accepting his heritage in Saiyan nature to become the Super Saiyan, the story frames Piccolo's internalization of his ancestry and other half as a necessity in order to truly become enlightened, or in this case, a Super Namekian. As a side note, I love how unique assimilation is. Buu will later do something similar with his absorption, but up until the final arc, this was solely a Piccolo thing, and it made sense for his character. He was born incomplete as a result of Kami and the Demon King split, so having him regain these lost parts through physically absorbing those who represented his missing pieces is a really weird but cool and interesting way to go about expressing his character growth. Another aspect I really like about this is how firm Piccolo is about keeping his own individuality. He cares about Namek, yes, but he won't let that define him. He wants to protect Earth, but he won't let Kami dictate him. Given how his father basically controlled his entire existence and how he resented that, of course he wouldn't want his identity bound by anyone else. Once he takes Kami in, his journey has practically reached its end. After finding his own individuality, learning his ancestry, and internalizing it, Piccolo can finally move on from his father's ambitions and look towards the future with a free mind, and play a role he feels comfortable in. No longer a demon, but a guardian of Earth. And a babysitter too, I guess.